Audience today. I don't know whether it's because of the last session or, as the moderator was saying, the impact of the coffee or the tea. You were told that this is going to be a power panel. I don't know whether it's your perception of whether there's no power here. But whatever you say, when I look at the audience, I see many people who are influencing lives. And I think that's the most significant thing inside this room. As people who are placement officers or members of the educational institutions, what you are doing today is so important, not only for the industry in Tamil Nadu, but also for the scores of students who go through your colleges. And I remember my own days as a student when I went to St. Joseph's College and then Madras School, and I asked myself, would I be standing here had it not been for all the people who influenced my life during those 3 and 2 years? So I think we should take a moment to put our hands together for you, and you can join me in clapping for all the work that you people are doing to make sure that you're providing a future, a career, and more importantly, talent to the industry. And I think that's the second important point. When we talk about the war for talent in the corporate world, the most important thing is people. And I'm reminded of the words of Henry Ford, and he said, take away all my people and give me back my factories. Soon grass will grow on the factory floor. But take away all my factories and give me back my people, I will give you much better products. And that was his commitment to people. And then we can ask, where do we get these people from? Where can organizations get these people from? They don't grow on trees. Obviously, we need to go to these educational institutions. That's why you form such an important link in the value chain, which is focused on making the organizations successful. And when I look at this educational industry, I think it has gone through a lot of changes in the past many years. One visible change that I see is whenever I go to NASCOM or any HR event, I see many people from the education institution. I used to think, what are they doing there? But remember, it never happened many years back. Many years back, if it is a HR event, you will see only HR folks participating. But these days, you see so many people from the educational institution, and that is one of the requirements to bridge the gap. They come, listen to what is being spoken, and they take the message back. And that has changed a lot, and I'm very happy about it. The second is a huge investment that goes into all the educational institutions. We think, it's easy to go and hire somebody from a campus, but unless you are on the other side, which is setting up an education institution, putting together the curriculum, going and recruiting those students, managing them during those 3 or 4 years, making sure that you help them to retain their motivation, and on top of that, helping them to get placed, I'm telling you, it's such a difficult job. Think about it. Most of you may be married. The challenges that you have in bringing up your own children. I have a son, second, who is 11 years old. It is so difficult for me to make him study. Every day when I come home, I ask him, do you have any homework? He'll say, yeah, I need to check whether there is homework first. Okay. All right, can you go and get me your timetable? He will have a homework. Okay, you've been asked to complete something. Have you done it? I don't have my notebook. My teacher is having the notebook. I think I can manage the 2,100 employees in my office, but managing one small kid is the most difficult task. And ultimately, I will end up doing the project for him. And then I look at him and say, okay, what is the star sign? He's born to be another HR person like me. That is with one child. Think of the scores of people you're managing. So I think the progress has been good, the investment, the interest to understand what's going on in the corporate world, and the significant time that you all put in bringing up the soft skills. I do know this, most of the education institutions, you put a lot of effort, be it recruiting soft skills trainers or bringing them into your campuses, training your people in the soft skills. That was a challenge many years back. And a lot of effort has been put together by the education institutions, only to find out that, the expectations have changed. The expectations continue to change. So it continues to be a challenge, but I see education institutions making a good progress so far. So I think that deserves a round of claps for yourself. We talk so much about how India is set for the future. And we talk about something called Make in India. You all would have heard about it. And today we are so proud to call ourselves as Indians in the global field. Recently I was entering London and I was having my visa interview, and then the one comment that visa guy made is, "Hey, you're a smart Indian." I don't know why he had that opinion, but I think that's the impression that we are creating as a country across the world. And then I asked myself, okay, if Make in India has to succeed, what is that one critical element that we need to set right? And then I realized it is going to be educate in India. Unless your educational institutions are going to be able to support that, this Make in India will fail. So I think all of you should now come together and say, how can we educate in India? Why should our students end up going only to international campuses? How can we bring that quality into our own Indian schools? And I think if I look at my own profession, we do believe that there are many colleges from where you have a specific interest to go and hire. But then we find out that it is mostly about how the education institutions brand, what is the kind of inputs that you provide to the students. And I believe that most of your institutions are already doing that. But it is just about finding that unique combination which you need to bring together to also make your institution world class. And I think if you have all come here so far, it is not going to be difficult for you to make the final journey. And when I look at what is the fourth big impact of the education institutions, you provide confidence to the corporates. When I speak to my own leaders who are visiting from other parts of the world, and I tell them, why is it that we have the shell business operations providing finance services in Chennai? I tell them it is because of the significant number of educational institutions in Chennai. And then I will tell them it is the number of institutions which are easily reachable to Chennai. If I go to, let's say, the surrounding places, the number of education institutions that are there are significant. So you provide the confidence to the corporate world, and you help them to set businesses in Chennai or any other place, wherever your education institutions are located. And your presence is one of the critical decision-making points for organizations to even widen or add more businesses. So you are very much on the radar of all the organizations. So I think in the last many years, a significant progress made by all of you, a significant contribution to the talent of the industry, and you have learnt a lot, and you're taking the inputs back to your own colleges to ask yourself how you can make it better. But then, I think the question that we need to ask is, we are in the 21st century. And the world is not the same as it was many years back. Today, one thing that we are talking about is change, right? Change is so real, and we talk about it so often in our own corporate world. Very simple change today, the dependency on mobile phones. I still remember when I was growing up as a child or as a boy, we used to have landlines. Not many people used to have landlines. And in a particular street, you'll have 2 or 3 people having landlines. And then we'll have to go and ask them, if I need to make a call, you go to that house and you see whether you can make a call. Today, every human being has become a landline, right? If you go and check, they may not carry their money purse, they may not even carry they may not even carry your textbooks to the college, but they will have a mobile phone, right? And if assuming there is no speaker here right now, I know what each one of you will do. You will immediately take off your phone and then you will start checking your messages. That's how technology has changed. And the problem is technology is also influencing human behavior. So the question that we should ask is, as educational institutions, what are some of the changes that we should bring about so that we are future ready, so that we are able to adapt to the changes and we continue to be successful. I have a few thoughts. Let me share with you as to what you can do better. The first thing is, are you focused on making your students career ready? Some time back, we were talking about, are my students job ready? If they apply for a job, will they be able to get a job? Chandru also made a point that his employees are all focused on careers. And that's a change. You're talking about multiple generations. You're talking about Gen Y, Gen Z, different kind of age groups coming in. And career as a focus is emerging. And let me tell you, when I was graduating from my English literature, I still remember third year, we were all as a student in St. Joseph's College, we were all talking, we were asking, hey, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to become a professor because my father is a professor. So that's the closest I know of what a human being can do. So I want to become a professor. And then there's another student who told me, I'm going to choose personal management. I asked him, what is this personal management? And then I joined Madras Christian College. I was in the first few months. And then my father rings me up and he says, you know what, Ragland, I've sent 3 applications without asking you for something called personal management. I said, what do you know about this? He said, I spoke to all of my colleagues and they say that this is a new career which is emerging. I don't know what it is. I've sent your application. I said, you know what, Dad, I'm not interested. I want to become a professor like you. He said, no, you know what, you can become a professor, but this has more career opportunities. So I'm getting the invite from the first college. I go there, I get selected. I come back and tell my dad, you know what, I want to become a professor. Okay, good. Second invitation comes. Once again, I get selected. I tell my dad, you know, you've already paid the fees. Do you want to lose that money? So I want to be a professor. Third time, I'm getting the invite from Madras School. I get selected. This time, I need to make a decision because something is calling you. 3 times you are being invited. And I said, whether I succeed or fail, I'm going to take up that role. And today, 21 years later, I see myself having done that role and I've become successful in that area. And I asked myself, who was the triggering point? It was my dad, because he started thinking about what is the career that his son should choose. Now, the new age generation has some amount of awareness. When they come into your college, they have some amount of awareness as to what is the kind of career they want to choose. But the question that I'm leaving with you is, what is the environment that you're providing to help them become career ready? Are you making them think only in the last year? Or even when they are coming into the campus, are you putting thoughts in their mind, saying there are so many careers out there, these are the opportunities that you have in our education institution, make use of it so that you can get the best out of it. That is something which you may want to think about. And if you do that, I think that 2 things will happen. One, the pressure on you as placement, people with responsibility for placement will come down. Plus, you will also be able to connect the dot to organizations which are looking for career-ready people, or at least people who know, this is the career I want to go to. And when I say a career, it is not about the first job. It is about what is that career path that I want to take. If it is human resources, then I will start here, I will grow to that level. So the first thought is, can you develop career-ready people? The second one is, how are you going to further your connect with the corporate world? I already made a comment. Many of you are becoming a part of events. You bring resource people into your colleges and you get them to address. But I'm thinking, is there any other different way as to how you can make the connect much more powerful? Recently I was looking at a case study of a company called Southwest Airlines. It's an airline in the US. Some of you may know about it. And for many years, they continued to be a highly profitable airline. And their branding is very simple. Low cost, no frills, yet they were very powerful. And then they found out what is the reason for their success. And that reason was they went and recruited the right people, they provided them the right training, and they also created the right environment for them to be able to bring out. To give you an example, when they wanted to hire air hostesses, they didn't have the selection team from their own company. They used to bring customers, and customers will be a part of the panel, and they will select who is the right person who can be chosen for an air hostess. Sometimes I'm thinking, would it be too outlandish to invite corporates to ask them to be a part of the selection panel to choose the right students even before they're in the first year, rather than inviting them in the last year to select them for their job? So it's about how you can, just a crazy idea, but it's about how you can think of newer ways of including the corporate world to select or even interact. For example, technology. We are asking people from corporate to come and share examples or experiences to your people. How about using technology to have sessions for your students to have direct contact with people from the corporate world? Of course, you have your own logistical challenges of whether people from the corporate world are available, but if you have access to people, leverage technology to bridge the gap between the students and to give them a first-hand experience as to, if you have chosen a career, this is what this person does. And this could be an example for you. This could be a mentor, or this person could be a coach for you. And the best thing is, how can you facilitate the exchange of knowledge and information? Because what we heard from the other panelists is the challenge with quality. And I think that continues to be a challenge, not because the education institutions have failed, because I think where we were 15 years back, we have certainly progressed. But what we are not trying to do is, we are not able to keep up with the speed at which the expectations are changing. So how will it be possible for you to bridge the gap? Recently I was in a learning session in Cranfield School of Management, and this was a 1-week program. And right from day 1 to day 5, we start classes at 8:30, go on till 6:30 p.m. It's jam-packed. You don't have time to even go to the restroom. But then every moment was so worthwhile because of the way they were teaching. So it's about asking yourself, are you bringing in enough content from the marketplace into your classrooms? Are you going only by textbooks, or are you bringing it live for your students, which inspires them to learn better? And I think that's the focus area for you, as to how you can bridge the connect with the corporates, some newer ways of bringing in more connect with the corporate world, bringing in connect with the people of the corporate world, and bringing in more lessons learned from the corporate world into your education institutions, and also inspiring your students, which will make it easier for you. And the third thing, which I think we can do better, is application at work. One of the biggest challenges which I see when I speak to youngsters is, and this was a challenge we'll have when I was in Zenta, we used to hire a lot of MBAs and BCom and MCom, and there will be one standard question they will ask: what are the golden principles of accounting? And many students will fail. And then I will go and challenge my line. Okay, guys, you're saying you're not able to find the right people. Is this something which we can teach them on the first day? 3 golden principles or 4 golden principles, put it on a PPT, share it with them, and test at the end of the day. But then the line managers, they will not accept. What were they doing for 3 years? What were they doing for 2 years if they have not learned the basics? Okay? Learning the basics is a big challenge, because when I look at a fresher, I don't expect them to talk practical knowledge. I expect that person to say, this is the theory I learned. And let me tell you, there is nothing more practical than a good piece of theory. And in the corporate boardroom, when we talk about challenges, we'll say, what does Abraham Maslow's theory of motivation speak? And when I look at a fresh HR grad, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about that motivational theory which says, in the absence of WhatsApp, in the absence of Facebook, motivation will not happen. It's changed. So the basics, and using that basics to apply at work is the biggest knowledge gap. And I think that continues to be a challenge for all the people that we meet. The next challenge is the transition to the corporate world. And I think all of you are doing a great job. You're providing them soft skills training, you're teaching them survival skills. But then again, the challenge is if you put your students through 1 or 2 days of training or prolonged training, it depends on the quality of training you're providing. It depends on the learning styles of your people. It depends on whether they are able to inculcate it. But there are a few things which you need to understand. Whether your students will be able to adapt to the changing environment within the corporate world. They are not ready yet. They come in with some certain set expectation, and when the corporate world goes through a change, they are not able to accept it. It's about a speak your mind mindset. One of the things that I test my freshers is, hey, tell me, what is wrong in our workplace? You are freshers, you are the Gen X and Gen Ys. What is it that I can do differently? They don't open their mouth. Is it because they're all from South India, or is it because we generally don't speak our mind? If you can teach your students to stand up and speak your mind in a very articulate way, let me tell you, they will be more successful than they are right now. It's about how they can collaborate with others. And I think it could be the difference in how we train them in campus and what is expected when they come to the world. During the campus situation, you tell them group discussion, the best speaker wins. And then there's a mini war which happens in all those group discussions. But then when they come into the corporate world, we tell them you need to collaborate. But it's also about the maturity, it's about how they understand. And I think as the corporate world, we have a lot of responsibility to give back to these students, because we think and we know that unless we invest some time and fill the rest of the puzzles which you are not able to fill, only then they become a full product. But I think it's also about helping them to transition to a corporate world. So I think there are a few challenges ahead of us, but I do believe that there's a significant amount of progress that we have made. And let me just finalize with 2 points. The 2 points is, one, as an educational institution, you should ask yourself, are you able to bridge the gap between generations? For example, when I look at most of you, you represent the Gen Y or baby boomers, right? But then when you look at your students who are coming in, they are a totally different generation. Their expectations have changed. The way they learn has changed. What they want to do in life has changed. So I think it's up to you to think about how can you bring these two generations together. How can you ask yourself, if the generations are changing, what is it that we can do differently to make your educational institution more successful? The second thing that you should ask yourself is, what is it that your educational institution wants to be known for? And Sabita made a comment on, there is a mushrooming of educational institutions. Yes, I think there are so many educational institutions today that it is very difficult for a student to make a decision. It's also difficult for the corporate world to make a decision. So that's why you have focus on, the past track and the quality of people you get. But then, remember, you are already doing something. The question that you should ask is, what do you want to be known for? And there's this famous story of a person who one day he was looking at the papers, and then he was surprised to see his own obituary. Think about it, you are looking at the Hindu, and then there is your picture, and it says this person is dead. What will you do? And then this person got over his initial shock, and then he wanted to find out what is the world talking about him. And then they said, oh, finally the dynamite king is dead. Oh, that guy who was causing death, he is dead. And that's when he said, I want the world to remember me for something. And he instituted the Nobel Prize. And today we know him as Alfred Nobel. And that is because he made a decision to ask himself, what does he want the world to know him for? And the mirror that I'm putting to all of you is, as a corporate world, remember, we need you. We need you to continue to do what you're doing already. But the focus for you should be, what are some course corrections you can make to sustain your journey and go to the next level? Thank you for the opportunity.